Oh, welcome to the Sharpe Club. A little bit past 9 p.m. on the East Coast. And you're saying to yourself, 9 p.m., that's late for you, old man Larry. It is, but it's Monday, which means I can stay up late. I have permission to stay up late on Monday nights only, but it's fine, I am. And we are talking today about something that I know many of you are thinking about, and that is the idea of art imitating life or life imitating art. And is it worse now or better or more or less? And I have with me a star-studded panel as exciting and interesting and super cool. First off, I have the returning champion, the crazy man. He's called the dragon of the Southern Tier, but I like crazy man Southern Tier. It's actually more fun. He is the man from no Soundbites Allowed, the one and only Michael Vass. How about you, sir?
Hello, Larry. I'm having it was a great weekend. Best way to start off the week, having a conversation with you. I always enjoy that. And all the guests, it's always fun. So this should be a great time.
There we go. And first time newbie coming on to the show. So happy to have him, the man known as Nerdrotic. Also, Gary, how are you, sir?
Hey, much better than I'm unmuted, man. That's on brand for me.
Yeah, that's accurate.
I'm great. It's 8 o'clock here in the great state of Texas. We're doing good. I did absolutely nothing today, so I feel like
that is a good.
I'm
day.
rested. I'm rested. Yes,
I am actually not rested. I was busting my ass the entire weekend doing all types of crazy political stuff and actually moderating 2 debates. But that's okay. I'm here today to talk about something, and the issue I actually want to bring up here, seriously though, as I'm joking around always, I do worry that sometimes we, particularly our youth, are being affected by art more than we should. Now, we know that youth is very often affected by art, right? I remember when I was a kid, you like the cool pop star of the day, whoever that person is. You think they're cool, you want to be like them. But I think now it's maybe more. I think with social media, things have changed. Am I wrong?
Kinda.
Okay, tell me.
I don't know. I was thinking about this for a little while, but I think what we're seeing now in entertainment is the result of the indoctrination that we've been going through. From high school and college, we've been seeing this path that's been set for these kids to go down. And as an example, let's take feminism. Okay, so women are supposed to become men, essentially.
We are like 2 minutes in and you went to feminism. Okay, go ahead.
Well, yeah, no, it's just an obvious one because we got the girl boss because of the feminism that's being taught in the schools. That they have this power fantasy that they have to become a man. They have to adopt everything that a man is.
Hold on. Wait. So now you're going to say you have to become a man. Can't women also be bosses too? Can't we have Wonder Woman? We don't only have to have Superman. We can have Wonder Woman too.
They used to. And I think Gary, you will agree with me. They used to be. I mean, there were a lot of great. Going back, we had Sarah Connor, we had Ripley from Aliens, we had. You said Wonder Woman, and we can go back with that. They were fantastic, but they were all feminine.
Yeah. So it's totally fine to have a girl boss as a woman without a giant chip on her shoulder. Which is what we're seeing in I mean, mainly Marvel stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, culturally, we were progressing as normal as normal can be until 2016. I mean, stuff was coming in. This could be a long one here.
Okay.
Our institutions in this country, including the institution of the entertainment industrial complex, has been invaded by cultural Marxism. And it was always there. It was always in the background, but it never took over. And even the people who ran Hollywood didn't take it seriously until recently, until right around 2016, when things took a hard turn. Because if you look back through the history of pop culture, it's always comes from counterculture. Like counterculture rides up.
True.
Yeah. Yep. But the problem is when the counterculture becomes essentially the state and they become a bunch of authoritarian assholes and they become everything they supposedly fought against. Well,
right.
that stems from the cultural Marxism that's always kind of been there. And again, it was minimized. We could talk about the McCarthy hearings, which are erroneous. I mean, there's much more to it than history tells us. And he was right about a lot of shit.
Isn't this a natural, right? That
I mean,
for girl bosses in general, right? If you want women to be equal,
sure,
move up. Aren't some of them?
But we're just repeating
heavy hitters.
What happened in the 90s. There was a whole girl boss movement in the 90s. Remember, remember the stickers on cars, girls kick ass, and Lilith Fair. But girls were still being girls back then. That's the kind of thing. Yeah. And now it's not like, honestly, it's not about girl bosses. It's about men becoming girl bosses now.
Okay.
I mean, everything's gotten crazy. And there's we're the rebellion against that, right?
Yeah.
And it's a common sense rebellion. This is even it's not even on party lines for the most part, not in my sphere anyway.
Okay. Let me push back on both of you a little bit here.
Sure.
We go back to the 60s, right? Mike's already mad at me. I haven't been pushed back yet. Let me push back before you get mad at me, Mike. Let me push back first. All right. You go back to the 60s and you got the Flintstones, right?
Yeah.
The freaking Flintstones. And Fred Flintstone is a knucklehead. He's not a smart guy. The smart one's Wilma, right? The wife was already a smart, savvy woman, right? That ended with like maybe Lucille Ball. Like the Lucille Ball, the man was the smart one and the guy who made the money and she was
not
the
quite
head, right? And then
not quite
move from there. But even the honeymooners, I go back to the 50s, the honeymooners. Even Ralph Cram's a knucklehead and his wife is the savvy one. I feel this has been happening way before 2016.
I think there's an understanding the further back you go in the media, the more you understood there was a difference. It was accepted that the relationship had different values. Men had certain expectations, women had certain expectations, and you were able to excel at the things that you naturally were able to excel at. It's not to say that some women didn't run households, they did, but that was more of an exception in the terms of going out and getting the job, getting the paycheck. But you would come back home from work, you'd take your paycheck, you give it to your wife. She paid all the bills. She made sure the house ran. She told you where you were going to go on the weekends, where you were, who you were going to go visit. Hold on 1 second. And that was reflected.
Before we get in trouble, I want people to know I invited a woman who's a girl boss on the show. She hasn't shown. Don't think I purposely said I want 3 dudes on the show to talk about girl bosses. I did not plan this way. Don't kill me.
Well, and I mean, if we're talking about culturally as a whole, right? Intersectional feminism, and that's what it is. I'm talking about intersectional feminism, which is just an aspect. Yeah, which is just an aspect of the greater problem. It's not the main problem. It is an aspect of a much greater problem.
But now, if I go to art now, right? Sure. Again, I just went back and I talked about honeymooners. I talked about, Flintstones, right? That affected us. I mean, I think we did see that and think something about what family should be, whatever. But I feel like now with places like TikTok, I mean, that's the common one, but Twitter, Instagram, whatever's the thing, I feel like we are bombarded far more than we were with a once a week Flintstones episode or whatever, right? Now it's like 24/7 we're being bombarded with, this is how you should be. You should be this way. This is what life is. And 2 things. While the Flintstones wasn't real life, and neither was Lucy or whatever, or the Simpsons or whatever is the show of the day, wasn't real life. Internet life is not real life either, but it's 24/7. Doesn't that make it worse?
Well, this in different ways. Entertainment was the fantasy that we wanted to believe in. Leave It to Beaver, Lost in Space, the original Star Trek, DS9, Farscape. These were all fantasies that we wanted to be the reality. We knew it wasn't. We all live real life. But that's why we had entertainment, to escape that. The comic books, Captain America, great example, Peter Parker. They had some problems, but they were living that fantasy that we could all relate to, which is why men and women enjoyed everything I just named in almost equal numbers, basically.
No. When we were young, comic books were for boys.
Mostly.
When we were young, comic books were for boys. Now, not as much, but it really was for boys.
Well, they're for nobody now.
Well, exactly.
For nobody.
No, because now the fantasy.
That's true.
There is no fantasy anymore. It's no fantasy. Now it's just depressing. Okay. It's like, here, instead of a fantasy, we have this warped sense of reality. Like, this is what life could be ideally. And now this is what life is going to be imposed upon you.
Okay.
I mean, does that make sense?
I tell this story often. I don't know if you guys know this, but my daughter is studying sequential arts in art school now, right? She's trying to become a storyteller, cartoonist. She's got a couple gigs already. She's studying this now. And at one point the school had a bunch of people from the industry to come, and the students could pitch to them an idea. And it was like 30 some odd ideas. Every single idea had someone who's part of the GSM, the gender and sexual minority community. Every idea. Now people say, oh, that means the kids are brainwashed. And I think, no, I don't think every kid happened to think of a story that has someone who's the main character is a GSM, part of the GSM community. I think they thought that's what was going to get them published. I think they self-censored and created a story.
Isn't that brainwashing?
Mm-hmm.
Is it? I don't know.
It's certainly just influence. It's, well, how can I get my story made? I have to capitulate to maybe ideas that wouldn't really inspire me, or values. And you know what? A character that you write doesn't have to match your values at all. It just has to be an interesting character. I think the biggest problem, and again, it's an art school, so not judging what art school your daughter's going to, but I'm guessing that art school politically is going to slant a certain way. Not too many libertarian art schools out there. Okay, maybe
not wrong.
Should be.
You're not wrong.
And teachers have influence. They're the little kings of their own fiefdoms there, and kids are kids. They want to get their story made. They're just there for the art, and maybe they go there for the love of it. But this is where it starts, and the problem is not having these ideas out there. People can make all the gender stories they want. It's 100%. The silencing of critics and straight up canceling of other types of stories. I cover stories. I cover comic books, mostly TV and film. Comics is basically my hobby. It's kind of irrelevant culturally right now, which is sad, other than the industry is dying and there's a new independent movement that's like in an early stages. But this is how these things react. You are not giving the audience what they want, which is a good story, because you're self-editing, because that is coming down from on high based on a political bias, which is antithetical to art, period.
Oh, I like that. That is, yes. I remember a guy, I forgot who it was. I had one guest on, and he said something that really, really struck me. He said, the second that you censor science, it's no longer science.
True.
Because then it's not open. I think what you said is true about art. The second you censor art, it's no longer art.
Yeah. No, I mean, go ahead.
No, I was, for the most part, I think anything goes. I think there's certain things that are like a pornography and a creepy, and obviously, that break laws. I'm not for. So, but other than that, if you're adults and you're making art, do what you want. I don't care. But once you start telling especially in the mainstream, I mainly cover pop culture for people who don't know. So for the mainstream, which you are looking for mass appeal, you have cut out half of your audience by literally calling them bigots and racists publicly. So it's killing interest in art. It's killing your industry. I think right now we're in this huge cultural shift where, well, those gatekeepers, we don't need them. We don't need Hollywood. I like these things a lot. I'm passionate about them, but we don't need them. And we can certainly make them on our own. And that's what Hollywood is afraid of. And that's why they put themselves, they're the ones who painted themselves into this identity politics corner, not us. 100%. They did it. And now they're finding it very hard to get out of when it would have been the simplest thing. The problem is they would have to stand up to the people they capitulated to, which they don't have the sack to do. They just don't.
There's two they don't do, but they haven't figured out the two pieces, I think. Number one is they haven't figured out that you don't need big finance anymore. You can crowdsource things very effectively, particularly the stories that people love. And big finance has destroyed the art. It's destroyed most of American business. Big finance has destroyed most of it with ESG and things of that sort, enforcing it. And second is they're worried about making money in China. Those two things together, they're separate, but both of them have affected that world, I think, a lot. Two different ways, but both of them have kind of neutered, if that makes any sense.
To an extent, it does. I think there's a lot more to that, but I kind of want to piggyback someone on what Gary's saying, and it applies to what you're saying, Larry. Yesterday, Gary, you were on with EFAP talking about the Two Towers, one of the greatest films that have ever been made. I really love that film. And I enjoy each and every one of the characters. We were talking about
Hold on, we're fast. The Two Towers. Let the audience know what that is.
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. Okay. And what happens in that one? Give me a general idea what happens in that movie. Generally, just like
you have a group of heroes who are facing down evil in the form of orcs. It's somewhat medieval knights and swords and magic.
Got it. All right.
They're fighting down orcs in a battle that they shouldn't win. They're like 1,000 to 1 outnumbered, and they have to try and fight and survive.
Is this the one when the riders come and attack the big elephants? Is that one?
Yes.
Or is it a different movie?
That's the third one. This is the one where they're at Helm's Deep.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. Now continue. My audience is now up to speed.
Yes.
No problem. So at that point, you said something I thought was really interesting, because you said Golem is an addiction. He is the example of addiction.
Yes.
And I think that's a really brilliant statement, because he is. But I think that's kind of like what we're seeing in art now. And this is why you're seeing so much big business in there, why you're seeing it so catered towards China. The addiction is propaganda, because propaganda gives them the money they think they want. It gives them the audience they think. They being Hollywood, the progressives, the socialists, the intellectuals, the academia that really don't consume any of this, but they think they're smarter than us, and that if they give us enough propaganda, we're going to suddenly see the light and join their perspectives, their ideology, and follow them. It doesn't work, because their morality, their ideology, literally, we see this every time. I mean, we saw it with Madam Web. We saw it with the Marvels.
Oh, yes.
We've seen it in She-Hulk and The Witcher Origins. We see this in all this art. No one wants it, because it is propaganda. It's not a fantasy. It is a nightmare that they're trying to force down our throats. And at the end of the day, the two things that it's all about is money and compliance. Give them money and comply to what they say. And that's, I think, ultimately why everyone always rejects this stuff in large numbers. Does that all make sense? Does it all come together to you guys?
It's probably why people are rejecting it now, because, quite frankly, over COVID and everything else, like people were pushed to the limit, right? And they finally opened their eyes and started paying attention, because most of us are busy. Most of us are busy doing stuff. It's not even a judgment, really. It's just, that's the way life is. You guys are busy. And once you're forced to, especially when, people don't seek this out on YouTube, what you're given through the network, through the corpos and the network broadcast is pretty much the same story. Fox will be a little different, but I mean, all the other networks will pretty much say the same thing. They're saying the same thing today. And it forced people like, okay, I'm being bullshitted here, so I'm going to go to other places. And that forced that wake up. Right. It was hard. It was a hard wake up, because people had their very comfortable lives, or somewhat comfortable lives, and or a difficult life. And they're like, I don't need anything else in my difficult life to make it more difficult. But the government forced everybody's hand. And the cultural revolution is the Marxists who are committing the corporate. We are the response. We are the rebellion to this corporate.
Let me touch a couple things that Rebecca brought up. I want to grab Rebecca put a couple things out here, and she brings up. She says that's why I watch YouTube more than Netflix and other streaming shows, right? And I think that happened, to your point, Gary. That happened during COVID. People started saying, "Well, I'll watch YouTube. I'll watch the stuff." And when the writers' strike happened, nobody even cared. Nobody noticed. The writers were on strike for like a year. We were like, whatever, I don't care. I'm going to watch Gary on YouTube. I don't need you. I'm good, right? Like I have my entertainment and I can interact with it, right? Back and forth. But then she also says something else. She says it's not no one, a majority. I do have friends who enjoyed those shows and movies. And my daughter is 20. And a lot of her friends, they do like this stuff. Like they self-insert. Like to your point, Michael, the movies aren't there. This is not really art. It's just people inserting themselves. It's not a fantasy. It's I want to put myself on screen. It is almost the idea of not even fan fiction. I would even say it's narcissistic. I want to put myself in it, right? Okay, okay, I'd buy that. Yes, all right. And then the kids go, yeah, that's right. And so I think some of the youngins do enjoy this. Not many, nobody with money, but I do think some of them do.
Well, that goes back to my thing about that. That's what they've been trained to like. They don't know the difference. We're not showing them any of the classics anymore. I mean, you try and watch Sesame Street is now considered R-rated. I mean, the Sesame Street we all grew up with. Right. And they consider that R-rated now. I mean, you got to be kidding me. They're trying to tell us, oh, we know so much better. You wouldn't be here if we didn't go through this, and it couldn't have been that bad because we're all here. And yet, oh no, but you're just evil and bad, and you're an ist and a phobe because you're not complying. Screw you.
You are an ist and a phobe, Vass. That's you. Well, you're an ist and a phobe. You are both. So,
Gary,
no, I mean, Gary, are we off on this?
Gary, you'd never believe how many times they've called me a racist. And Nazi.
You know what? I would believe it now. There would be a time I'd be, what the hell? But nowadays it's like, yep, I
that checks out.
Checks out. Who cares at this point? Yes. They've overused it so much, and it's never been an argument. It's not an argument. And Larry, you ask, it's not that we're still in the learning process, but we're fighting. Is political fundamentalists who treat it like a religion, who think basically the politics is settled, the science is settled. Our side is right, your side is wrong. I don't wake up like that. I don't like whatever I believe politically. I'm open to new ideas. I don't roll out of the rack thinking I'm right about everything. But that's what we're fighting. We're fighting like a true believers, which is a scary thing. And then with them, we're fighting a lot of cowards. A lot of cowards who won't stand up for them, who are, especially when I'm talking about Hollywood, who won't stand up. Right now, there is a bit of a little rebellion going on, but it's anonymously. My friend Chris Gore over at Film Threat with Alan Ng have been running the D-Files and, getting anonymous letters from WGA writers who hate everything about the strike, everything what they capitulated to, the new DEI rules, which are utterly ridiculous.
Horrible.
And by the way, those DEI rules are at every organization, every major corporation. They are at your public schools. They are everywhere.
But the good news is they are being rejected slowly, right? Yes. I was against DEI early. I literally said DEI doesn't make things better. It doesn't make things neutral. It literally makes things worse. It is harmful. It's not neutral. It is harmful. And I've been screaming that for years. And now finally, because I used to do that kind of work, I stopped because they don't want my kind of work. My work, when I used to do this work for a living, for those who don't know, I'm a consultant, I'm a businessman for a living. That's what I do for a living, right? I do that kind of work. And I would teach emotional intelligence. That's what I would teach, emotional intelligence, understanding that you are not everyone else and everyone else is not you. That is a healthy way of going about things. The difference between intent and impact, recognizing those both as different, that's healthy and good. DEI says no. Everyone, you must know that everyone is based upon whatever group you decide, that's who they are, and intent is irrelevant. All that matters is impact, and by default, you are evil. And it is nothing but harmful.
That's because DEI is essentially, it's equity. We're talking about equity, which is the eternal division into smaller and smaller groups, individuals, taking them from being human beings with agency into characteristics that must obey. It is dehumanizing. It destroys people's agency. It doesn't recognize humanity or any aspect of that. It is simply about creating the robots. What was it? Carlin said, smart enough to run the machines, too dumb to ask questions. That's DEI. That's equity.
But it's also unforgiving, which is, I was always taught in everything I did, and every business I've ever been part of, when I've been office in public company, it's the same thing. You want to be harsh on systems, and you want to be very good on people. Right? Mm-hmm. You want to be harsh on systems to make your systems as good as you possibly can, but you want to be good on people, right? You want to give people the opportunity to grow and to fail and to do the right stuff so they can become better. You want your systems to constantly be tighter and tighter and tighter, but not your people. You want your people to be able to grow and be better, and it just drives me crazy. But before I go, I have one thing. Joe has a good joke. He does say most of Sesame Street characters are naked around kids, so they kind of got you on that one.
That's a good point.
That is a good point. Just saying it is.
I never thought about that with Snuffleupagus. I really did.
There we go. He was naked, so his junk might have been out.
Maybe Oscar the Grouch. That's why he's in the trash can, but not Big Bird.
Yeah, unfortunately, our systems are becoming tighter, like around our neck, right?
Yes.
With all our rules and stuff, and not allowing people to grow and make mistakes. And meritocracy is being legislated out. And that's the death of our country. So we 100%. Need to, and also, it's also the death of being a human. We aren't meant to be cuddled. The world is not fair. It's an effed up world. You need to internalize that. And once you do, life does become easier. It was rough. It's rough for Vass, rough for me, rough for people in the chat. We all have our rough spots, but it made us so much better. But now, what's messed up about DEI is it's super racist. By the way, you're fighting you're fighting discrimination by being every DEI chart could be. You could save a lot of time by just saying, "Are you white or not?" That's it. That's all you need to ask.
Yes.
Are you white and straight? Yes or no? And the rest of it's fine. Yes. And then after that, now when people get a role, when somebody gets a directing job. And that's a person of color using their fucking horrible language. Excuse my language.
You can drop that bomb.
Everybody, including that person, is now going to think, "Am I a diversity hire?" That's messed up.
But they are a diversity hire.
Person.
Oh, no. That makes you. That makes you.
Even if they're good,
yes,
they are.
That's okay. He's right. That's like, I'm a diversity hire. I'm now a victim. You can't call me names if my stuff sucks.
Yeah, but there's some people.
You're a racist.
But there's some people who actually. I've had people reach out to me from Hollywood. Directors reach out to me from Hollywood going, no, this is effed up because I worked my ass off to get here. And now I'm being treated like, the reason they contacted me is because they liked in one of my videos. I said, well, directors are being cast now. They're not being hired. They're being cast to parade around and the suits will tell them what to do. And that's what's going on. So that's horribly unfair to a human being. And I am a full believer in meritocracy. I don't care what you look like or how you identify. If you make something good, cool. Let's rock 100%. With it. But I think that's not happening. Right? We had it.
I bring up often, and I'll bring it up. Vass knows I brought this example up before. Road Warrior, the movie Road Warrior, right? 1979, 1980 in that area, whenever it was made, something like that in that area.
82.
One of the 82. There we go. One of the bad guys in the movie. The guy with the mohawk, he was clearly gay. He had a gay lover, right? And we were like, okay, whatever. Who cares? Like, nobody cared. He was, so what, right?
No.
It was whatever. And they wrote him in. It was wonderful. It made sense. There's probably not many women. So the gay guy can easily come to the top, right? Because there's probably, right? No worries. All good. Who cares? Nobody cared. Nobody cared. It was all good.
No one asked. No one cared. And Humongous, the same thing. No one asked. No one cared because that wasn't. Well, see,
because it was a good movie. To Gary's point, it was a freaking great movie.
But you know why? You know why? And you guys tell me if you think I'm wrong. But we used to have story. We had the story, and there might be a backdrop of something political in there, but that wasn't the main story. The story was the story. There was the, that could be the C plot running around in there, and maybe you pick it up, maybe you don't. And that was something for the director and, his little highlight reel. Fantastic. And everyone else could just have A and B plots and enjoy it. Today, no, it's politics first. How do we have this political idea? Let's try and fit a story to carry.
That's actually part of DEI. You're absolutely right. Yeah. And that's so story comes first. And a good story will get an allegorical message across just fine to anybody. If it's a good story and you treat the audience intelligently. But what's being again, this is from Film Threat, and I covered it in a video a couple weeks ago. One of the things it's a survey that they're asking WGA writers, and after you fill out what race and gender and identity you are, they when you start pitching a script, they're like, well, are you the person to tell us, and why are you telling this story? Now that's a natural thing, but it's the follow-up to that. Why are you telling the story? How does it relate to the world we live in today, which is just it's
I hate that
modernism, and a good story will relate to anybody at any time on a human level.
Yes,
and we've done it for thousands of years.
It's why we keep remaking Shakespeare.
Yeah,
it's why we keep remaking Shakespeare.
Recycling mythology. Yeah.
Yes, mythology. Yes, because it doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter what you're doing. 100%. Let me talk to my audience for a second, guys. If you're watching here and you like what we're talking about, and you're watching, so you do, then click the like button. What is wrong with you? Do you have a problem with your finger? Click the like button. Do it now. If you care, click the like button. It does matter. If you're watching on Twitter, then please retweet this right now, or re-exit or repost it, whatever is the X thing you do now. Used to be retweet, whatever it is. You want your chat to come to the front? You can super chat me if you want to, if you happen to be watching on YouTube. That's awesome. You can also become a member on YouTube if you want to. It's just $4.99. Come on, dirt cheap. It's like a cup of coffee. It's actually less than a cup of coffee in New York City. So yes, that's all it is. All good. But no matter what you do, please follow. If you would follow Gary on Nerdrotics on Twitter, and please follow Mr. Michael Vass on Rumble at No Soundbites Allowed. I have Molly Smash here because she's supposed to be here, but you can follow her at Delta Asher Hill anyway on Twitter, even though she's not here if you want to. But she was listed here because hopefully she'll still come. But anyway, please do it if you could. So let me now move to a couple of comments. If I could, I got a bunch of comments, and some of them are teasing, so that's fine. I'll grab some of them.
Bring it.
Yeah, I've seen them.
John Chow says, we need to know if Larry has read Silmarillion. Silmarillion.
Yes.
Yeah, there's still time. I have not. I guess I should.
There's
an audiobook. It's as a huge Tolkien fan, not the easiest read in the world, but once you get into it, it opens up there's some epic, truly like beautiful and metal stuff in it. Like it's great.
Yeah.
It's something like, admittedly, I didn't read it till years after I read Lord of the Rings. So
I read it. It felt more like an encyclopedia to me when I read it the first time. I got about halfway through. It is a little bit rough, but there's so many little stories in it. Fantastic. It's something I do recommend it to people who love. If you love the movies, you will love the books, and you will probably enjoy the Silmarillion as well.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. Manolo says, "Hail Gary and the Fellowship." There we go. I like that. So
it's poetic. So it's absolutely poetic. And it was put together by Christopher Tolkien. Greatest son who ever lived, guarded his father's legacy. But it's Tolkien's language, and his use of language is just, it's pure art.
Incredible.
There we go. I love that. So Rebecca says, without art, the crudeness of reality would make the world unbearable. George Bernard Shaw.
Agreed.
Nice.
Very Agreed. Nice. Absolutely. Andrew says, you the best, Larry. That is an accurate statement. I am indeed the best. That is true. Absolutely. Now, Mike, we're going to mess with you. Train says, we're going to have to talk about Michael's lack of background flair. It's true. I mean, they do got you on that one, Mike. I mean, Gary's making me look bad, but I mean, I got some at least. I got a little bit. I got something going on, right? A little bit.
I got a purple wall. If I take the green screen, if I take the green screen down, it's a purple wall. I lost the studio. Hey, we were talking about this. So slightly serious. Yeah, the last 4 years for me, devastating. Lost 98% of everything I've ever had. That's fine because I didn't stop. I'm not stopping. That isn't the first time I've had losses. I've talked about it before. I've been homeless before. Which is why I'm a homeless advocate amongst the other things I do. Sure. And always keep moving forward. I lost the house. I lost the studio. Guess what? I'm still doing this. And instead of having a good background, I got a green screen. Guess what?
We've been trying to get rid of you, Mike, but you keep coming back. Every time we try to get rid of you.
That's it.
Keep coming back.
Here's my positive message. Keep moving forward. Talk to people. Keep moving forward. Opportunities will come.
There we go. Now we're messing with Gary because he says, I know we say there's a minimum of 10 pieces of flair, but Nerdrotic has 370 pieces of flair. Yeah. So you kind of went overboard, my friend.
A little bit.
Did you finally get the stuff on the ceiling? Because I remember you.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I've got 2 more ships to hang up and then I'll do my room tour. But just to tell you how much backgrounds don't matter. My most viewed video is in a hotel room in San Marcos, California. I recorded it in a freaking hotel room. There we go. There you go.
There we go. Absolutely. So let me move away from that and let me move towards what I think is crazy, which is social media. And we're on it now, right? I mean, we're on it now. But I feel like 2 things happened almost at the same time. Not at the same time, but close to time. The lockdowns really made people jump on social media because you physically couldn't be social. I think we were already moving towards heavy social media, but I think the lockdowns kind of forced it a whole lot faster than it would have happened naturally. And I think we as a culture, particularly Americans, I don't think we're ready for it. I think it was so fast that we just didn't know how to handle it. And the youth in particular, I mean, I'll tell you an interesting story that you may enjoy. My daughter now, who is 20, when she was younger, maybe 12 or so, in that area, she used to watch PewDiePie on YouTube. And I don't know if he's that popular now, but he was very popular. At one point, he was the #1 guy on YouTube at one point. So she would watch him, and she would watch him. He would be talking about somebody else playing a video game. So she's watching him watch somebody else play a video game. This blew my mind. I did not get it, right? So I went to her and I said, I don't get it. Why? Help me to understand. I don't get why you're watching it. And she told me something that really stuck with me. She said, Dad, I feel like I'm watching with him. And when she said that, I thought, I will not let that man be my daughter's father. And I got directly involved with everything she watches, I watch. We watch things together. I actually got all my kids, I got them all together, and my wife too, in the kitchen. And you could play video games if you wanted to, but you had to play with us in the kitchen. So I made it, we'd all play like, my kids used to love Roblox. They don't really like anymore, but they used to love Roblox. So I had a Roblox account. So we're all playing Roblox together, right? So we're all watching. Now to this day, my daughters still send me TikToks. Like they'll send me a TikTok. Oh, isn't it funny, Dad? They'll send me that stuff. I feel like the lockdowns expanded that, and so many of our youth are so stuck in social media, they actually prefer it to human life. Did I go too far on this?
No, go ahead.
No, but it was our government's response to COVID that exacerbated a problem that was already there, right? But the core issue of why people like to watch live streaming or back during live TV is there's a lot of loneliness in this country. There's a lot of addiction, and these are all things I've gone through. So addiction, homelessness, despair. And what kept me going was listening to it was called Armstrong and Getty. There's this radio show in the Bay Area that I still love. I'd listen to that and I'd kind of keep me going for a few more hours. I'd find a live stream and I'd watch, and it just felt like there was a personal connection there. Right. And that's one of the core issues. The other one is, yes, we jacked over our youth. I don't think there's any coincidence that there's a bit of a problem with identity. We'll just say, I'll try to keep it as safe as possible with our children right after COVID, right after we locked them out of schools and broke the habit of our society. The habit of our society was getting up, going to work, doing something, keeping everything going. And we shut it all down, and we shut it all down for it freaking cold. But the long-term ramifications, we have no effing idea. We will know 20 years from now, but we have no idea how much we jacked up our kids. That's why I rooted we had a lot of reasons, but I rooted my family up and just got the hell out. I went to a state that was open so we could get back to our lives. And it was hugely expensive, terrible. But it ended up benefiting my kids, which that was the goal, right?
I pulled my kids out. I homeschooled my kids for that time. I pulled them out. I wouldn't put them in schools anymore. I homeschooled my kids. Yeah. I did. I was just with you. Then we went to Florida.
I got one look at what San Francisco was doing because I was in San Francisco at the time. So I got one look at what they were doing. I'm like, nope.
I was in New York City, brother. I was right with you. I'm like, nope.
I've already had my clashes with San Francisco teachers before. My kid was walking over homeless people to get the, thankfully they weren't dead, but they looked dead. Homeless people. He would lose school days because of homeless people. Homeless people were waving around weapons and they'd shut down the school. It's like, enough of this crap. But we'll never know. But yes, they went to social media. So did adults. It's not all kids. I mean, there's a lot of YouTube careers and TikTok careers, a lot of streaming careers, Twitch were all made during COVID. I mean, Friday Night Tights, like, kind of blew up during COVID. And what I remember early on, because I've been locked up, so I know what confinement does to a human. Even when you get confinement over a year, makes you crazy. It just makes you crazy. And there's lots of ways that the prisoners deal with it, including drugs and all this other stuff. But, for I'm one of the few who wanted to remain sober and out of trouble and get out of there alive. I minded my own business, but I definitely went nuts. I went straight up nuts in there for a little while. And I did a live stream on it at the time. I remember I was like, you guys might need to know, hey, you're not going to be in prison, but it's going to be like you're being confined. And when it gets to the 6-month part, you're going to start going fucking crazy. You're gonna start like losing your shit, and our whole country did that. Now, some people handled it, and that's great, but that's what happened. And you can't do that to a society. You just can't. It breaks it.
But hold on, this is the point I want to bring up. Right, for many people, right, if you were, say, for example, locked in a cell for many years, and maybe there was a bird out on your ledge of the one window you have, that bird might become the number one thing in your life. That might become a very important thing for you because it's the only thing of life you're out there, right?
Yep.
I'm saying that these kids were locked up and the only thing there was TikTok and YouTube. And now it's 2 years later and they still think TikTok and YouTube is a thing. So if the TikToker tells you blah, 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 you believe a TikToker. If the YouTube guy tells you so-and-so, and I remember, and this, you're talking about identity. I'll give you this for my own kids. Both of my kids had identity issues also, as most young kids do, right? Most kids do. They started telling me things from TikTokers and YouTube. And all I said was, okay, great, go to school. Okay, great, do your homework. That's it. That's all I said. Okay, great, do your thing. Whatever, you're whatever. Let's keep moving. Let's keep moving. And they grew to be 2 straight kids.
Yeah. Well, no,
I just left them alone.
Most kids are.
Yeah.
You didn't helicopter
to be
parent.
Clear, I don't get myself in trouble here, to be very forward. And I'm not virtue signaling. I'm being very forward. If my kids were gay or something else, I don't care. I'd love them either way. That would not change my love for them. But I didn't assume that they were something that they said. I just said, be you and you'll figure out whatever it is.
Yes, that's exactly how. That's how we parented too. It's, we didn't influence them with religion or any like I had mine, I spoke them, but I'm like, you guys believe in it, whatever you want. You grow into this world area. And fortunately for me, I got a couple of base kids, but this is great.
If you leave them alone, they're going to work out fine. That's why we see so many of the youth today don't know how to do anything because they haven't grown. Individually, as individuals, in terms of their spirituality, their intellect, their social interactions, especially now. And then you add on top, and that's because we've been more and more technology so fast, we haven't learned to adapt to it. And then you lock them down. Basically, you're right. We were all put into prison sentences.
Yeah.
And that magnifies it. At the same time, we've got the propaganda going on. We have never had a time in history where we had so much that affected so many in such a negative way. And the one thing that should have helped us with this, which is what we were here today, is entertainment. It's our escape from that. It's our one release that we can all get around the cooler. We can send each other.
How well did movies do during the Depression? Pretty damn well.
Right.
Exactly. Yes. I mean, and we could have had that. I mean, remember Astartes? Remember, did you see Astartes, Gary?
I know what it is. Yes, I have.
Oh, okay. You got to see it. It's fantastic. One guy made this. It's about Space Marines. It's Warhammer.
It's a Warhammer 40K thing. I don't know much about Warhammer 40K, but we watched it and it's pretty incredible.
Dude, once you get into Warhammer 40K, it's a rabbit hole. You're gonna go.
Boss is always talking about Warhammer. I gotta watch it. I guess because he's always talking about it.
You see all this stuff? Do you think I got room for 40K stuff?
Oh, you don't need crazy. You'll need a bigger house, man. You will want all this stuff. I want all this stuff. I love my Space Marines.
That's cool. Warhammer 40K fans are hardcore, and I love them for it. I absolutely do.
Oh yeah,
total respect.
Huge lore. But I mean, we had that opportunity. There were people coming up. Yourself, many people were coming up with entertainment that were helping people get through that time with some levity, some interest, distractions, and then we had this big push from political organizations manipulating the entertainment. We had the WEF, WEC coming in with their ESG and their money, saying, "No, you'll do fantastic. Just listen to us." What is it? Sweet Baby Inc. Sweet Baby Inc. They're coming in saying, "Don't worry, we're going to keep the good times going." That's the drug to the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
So that they can shoot us full of their preferred drug, their propaganda, and try and shove it down, not realizing that we were damaged already. We were just starting to heal, and now they're giving us another problem we have to deal with.
And now we're fighting amongst ourselves more than ever. Over things that just they're like not that important. I don't mean to be cruel. I'm not trying to say that people don't have issues with identity and such. People do, but compared to eating, compared to surviving, I mean,
we're an affluent society when somebody has time to think about their gender at all and not dig a hole for water or go farther and dig a hole to go take a crap in. I mean, like we and there's a lot of ingratitude. I think that's a lot of it. But that's the adults too. And ultimately with social media, it's not going anywhere. It is here,
right?
And we're just trying to get our heads around it. But I mean, it's parenting. I don't want. I'm sure Larry doesn't want any or Voss any government regulation. I no thanks. Basic laws to protect kids. Yes, I'm fine with that.
100%. Yeah.
But beyond that, parenting. I don't want the government coming in telling us what is hate speech. Look what's going on. Canada's like going nuts. Canada went insane. That's your canary in the coal mine right there. That's where
the polite Canadians. What happened to these guys? It wasn't the nice guys. They were supposed to be the nice guys. They're not. They're the evil.
There's a lot of
the Brits have it too.
They got shut down. I mean, the trucker thing was great. It was one of the greatest things I ever saw because it was a perfect protest. It was one that like they couldn't fight because it was bouncy castles and people singing and honking horns. That's how you protest. You just have fun and you smile in their face.
It's tough to shoot those guys when they got a bouncy
real
castle.
tough to shoot them. People with the bouncy castle. But that's the way that was the perfect way to protest through mockery. I mean, you straight up mocked the government. And so like hopefully that's how we go forward. That's how I approach
I gotta say something,
protest.
Mike. Joel's teasing you. He says, Mike, come on, obey, comply, damn it, just do it. Just do it. Yes. But he goes,
well, I'm supposed to. I mean, you and me, Larry, we're already categorized as part of the obey crowd. That's what we're supposed to be.
I know. Well, neither one of us is black anymore because we didn't vote for Biden. So we got to figure out what race we are now. Yeah. So I don't know. I keep saying,
for grabs.
Oh, the Democratic Party will tell you eventually if they stay in power.
Eventually. I'm waiting for it to come in the mail.
Yeah.
I figured it would come in the mail. They would tell me you are now Puerto Rican or whatever I am, right? Whatever. That's what I figured. But I want to be Filipino. I love Filipino people. I'm going to pick Filipino.
Samoan's
a good too.
Up.
Yeah, maybe that.
Yeah, my shop was near Daly City. I had half of my clientele was Filipino. It's great.
There we go. Filipinos are wonderful. So I'm going to go with that. But anyway, Joel says AI art makes me doubt every photo now. And this part to me is funny. Like my daughter's going into art, and I told her, I said, she would tease me. She would say, Dad, there are a lot of artists that are better than me. I said, I don't care. It doesn't matter. She's like, what do you mean? I said, look, you want to make money. You don't have to. It's good if you're a good artist. It's good. I mean, please, if you can draw well. But knowing how to draw is nowhere near as important as knowing what to draw. Knowing what to draw is the critical piece. That's what you need to focus on. How to draw, who cares? But to Joel's point, does the AI also begin to learn what to draw?
Yeah, it did. And it made the Vikings Asians and made everyone in England black.
It literally made black Nazis. Literally.
Yeah. Black Germany. It was like
literally. Yes.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, it learned all right. Now, who taught it to do that? I love how they're like, "Oh, that was an error there. You programmed it." Exactly. What
there might be some atheists here, but I that's just something that makes me believe. Maybe there's some sort of architect or creator or higher power out there that just made Google make the biggest freaking. How could they even make that mistake? And it was great. It was fantastic that it happened. Got memed to death, and we shamed them. Now, the Babylon Bee had the best headline that Google promises to be racist in secret next time. But
that's real. That's not real. That's real.
I know. That's essentially what they're going to do. But AI is like the internet. It's like all technology. It's like the synthesizer when it came into music. It's a tool. It's a tool right now. It's not going to become sentient anytime soon. And when it does, the robots will kill us all. But, like until then, it's something like we can hate it all we want. And I'm not the biggest fan of it, just to make it clear. But it's here. It doesn't really matter. So what it will do, though, what the thing people might hate, but it's going to open up the door for people to make their own movies, their own games now. So much easier. So like I am totally against it being, and it will be manipulated to rewrite history and but on the other hand, it will open the door for other people to create their own stuff much easier.
Gary, yes, they're going to try and change history, but they're doing it already. I mean, what was that? The British, one of the British monarchs, they turned her into black. They made the Queen of the Nile.
Anne Boleyn, and then
and they made Cleopatra.
And a Viking queen in the Viking show. They made her. And sure.
What really makes me angry about that Cleopatra one, and this is why I'm angry. There actually were Nubian pharaohs. You could have found a black pharaoh. They existed. Not that one. That one was Greek. So why did you turn the Greek one black when you could have just found a black one and then a story about the black one?
Yes.
There were black. There were Nubian pharaohs. They existed. You could have found one.
But it's because everything they're doing, the propaganda is so poisonous. It is so obviously objectionable that they have to take over everything that was before it and turn it, because you won't accept it any other way. You have to have a black Superman. You've got to turn Batman and Robin gay. You have to do these things because no one would accept. They can't write. They can't create.
No, they're activists
and innovate.
Yes,
they're just activists. So what activists do is just hitch their wagon to whatever's popular. Then they decimate it. Don't really care, because either way, they decimated the patriarchal traditionalist story that's obviously fascist. So yay for us, or we took it over. Either way, they're happy. But you know what doesn't make them happy? A good story. Nothing makes them happy, because activists aren't freaking happy. But
that's true.
They're miserable people, and they want everybody to be miserable with them. And you know what? That's our greatest weapon is we have fun. We're happy. And, thankfully, we have a bunch of old stories we can enjoy until they try to F them up. But that's why I'm a big fan of physical media. and
Yes.
and
Okay.
preserving this. I'm a huge fan of physical.
Yes.
Yes. X-Men's coming out, right? I'm not watching on Disney Plus. I've got my X-Men cartoon.
I have an X-Men question I gotta ask you. Hold on, I got an X-Men question. He says, "Hey, you're the Nerdrotic guy, right?
Sure.
Does anyone have the answer as to why, again, the X-Men 97, they are not including core members, the original new Len Wein, and Dave Crocum, ex-team of Colossus and Nightcrawler, and later mainstay Kitty Pryde. I don't care if they have Rogue, Gambit, and Jubilation. Lee, just give me my original new team." Yes.
Well, they move. I mean, it depends on where they are in the chronology of this story. I think it's supposed to be a continuation, and that's probably I would hope they were there at some point. But good Len Wein, God rest his soul, co-creator of Wolverine, so many other things. You want to hear a sad story? Saw him at Comic-Con 2019. He was dying. Hung out with his son, and a Wolverine. The Logan had just come out, or a couple years before, and we had discussed like, hey, so Hugh Jackman like gave him money because he wasn't getting residuals.
Is that right?
From his creation. Yeah, that generated billions of dollars. This guy. So Hugh Jackman gave him money, which makes Hugh Jackman cool. But also he was there dying, signing stuff for us. So I brought my son, because my son's name's Logan, and he was doing it to raise money for his kid. Oh, it's freaking awesome. And he died just a few months later. He was the nicest guy in the world. But it's these corporations. It's so funny that the rascally, rebellious left, who think they're always fighting the system and the man, love these corporations who could care less about them. They are freaking horrible. I am a free market guy. I hate giant corporations. I can't stand
Me too.
Them. And
they become monopoly and they wreck everything.
Destroy the mom and pop, and the artisanal thing. And what's happening is they're so fucking stupid that they're destroying themselves. And I'm happy for. I'm here to just roast marshmallows over the fire.
Chat that agrees with you. Frederick says, to me, much art now is plagued by the unhealthy degree of shameless pandering to a niche crowd rather than creating healthy escapism. This is what you're talking about, Mike, that can potentially appeal to anybody, regardless of color or creed. And thank you, Frederick, for the $10. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. I think he's right on the money. This seems like exactly true, right?
Mostly. One slight thing, Friedrich, that I want to change in that.
Okay.
Niche isn't bad. A niche is fine, because sci-fi is a niche for fiction. Okay. So when you understand and look at it that way, that, there's a niche within there. Warhammer, which I love, of course, I was talking about, that's a niche within sci-fi.
No. But what he's saying is pandering. When someone does Warhammer or any of the niche things, they're not pandering to you. They're putting together a cool story that people like you would like. They're not going, let me have a guy whose name happens to be Michael in this so that Michael Vass will love me. That would be a pander.
Well, no, I understand. I'm saying that they're assuming. Look at most of the stuff that's out there right now. I don't know what's Echo. Great movie. Okay, great TV show, to use that as an example. They're targeting everyone as if we are the niche. If they targeted Echo to the niche, it probably would have been okay, and they would have probably made it better if they said, okay, our target market is deaf, one-legged, female, Native American people. Okay. Small group. And they probably
really small group
all over. But instead they said, well, everyone's like that, so everyone's going to watch this. And everyone said, no, that's
I'll go one step further, Mike, that if you are a Native American deaf person, you have to love it. And if you're not that, you still have to love it, or you're a bigot. So no matter what, you have to love it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. For one, that show was just horrible. There's the Kingpin for no reason gets a bunch of white guys to attack a powwow at the end.
Yeah.
And kill everybody. Like what? It's
I don't know how you
I
made it
think
through that, man.
racist
I made it
people
through
come up
the
with that.
first.
But yeah, so what they again to talk about, they piggyback on something that's popular, so they use it as a platform for influence. It's not, so the Marvel Cinematic Universe started out fine. It was fun.
Mhm.
It was a people,
Yes.
you know, like it wasn't super planned. It was very basic in the beginning, and it made a bunch of characters that were based on the comic books, and we all liked them. And then one day, Kevin Feige decided, hey, we need more women. Hey, we need to start pushing in more representation. And it all happened around, you know, a couple years after 2016 and Harvey Weinstein and Me Too.
Mhm.
And it was a lot of people trying to keep their jobs, and Hollywood was getting HR departments, and all of a sudden DEI started coming in. And you know, the old axiom with storytelling is basically a writer with their salt is like, hey, you're not necessarily going to make something for the fans. I'm going to make something for me that hopefully I'm going to make a story for me that you like. Now I'm going to make propaganda for me that you're going to like. There's a great unintentional, the movie Serenity. I just watched Firefly,
great movie,
unintentionally based movie now, by the way, from the very liberal Joss Whedon. But the opening scene with River Tam, she's a school child, and she's talking about the independence. The independence and the alliance is basically the society we have now. And she's saying, hey, the independents they want to be left alone. And they don't want to be told, they don't want to be told what to think. And the teacher goes, well, we're not going to tell them what to think. We're going to show them how. Yeah. That's what Hollywood is right now.
And then commands everyone to lie down.
Yep.
Lie down. Just lie down.
Oh, just lie down. Oh,
and by the end, I'm not giving away the ending of it, but when you understand how serious, what happens when you lie down, it's like, oh,
when
my
you
God.
lie down and you're like, oh my God, especially when you watch Serenity, the movie Serenity today.
All right, now I gotta watch. I gotta read a book now. Serenity? I gotta watch a movie. You guys give me homework. I gotta watch movies.
He loves to give everybody. Trust me, you're doing better. You could be playing Golem, or he can make you watch. What was that one that you made as he nearly busted his head open watching? It was going crazy.
Oh, Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Robin Hood. They were talking about the Panderstone in chat. Somebody sent me a Panderstone. Yeah, that South Park episode was a cultural moment. Yeah, like
100%.
That was one. The tide is definitely turning. People have had enough.
Agreed.
They've absolutely had enough, and Dune's doing very well at the box office, but like this is their first box office hit since like a Taylor Swift movie came out in October.
100%.
Like this, and for a big box office hit, like potentially $1 billion. And it's a desert for Hollywood this year, and there's a possibility of another strike, which is very real from IATSE, which is great. Like I'm laughing my ass off. Well,
yes,
they actually, these are the craft workers, so they, I'm totally anti-union, but they have a leg to stand on. Like they could really shut Hollywood down, and since they were allied with the other unions, the unions have to ally with them.
Yeah, they have.
So if they go on strike, they have to shut down Hollywood. They can't use scabs. And these are the people, these are artists, the people who build the sets in like a night. It's a lot of the blue collar people in Hollywood, but they can, I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm like, go get them, whatever. I think I think personally having a union's just giving yourself another boss and taking away one of your freedoms by giving up your ability to negotiate, which I think is totally insane. But we'll see what happens.
Let me grab a couple comments if I could. Shaka Zulu says I'm a boomer. Well, almost true. He says PewDiePie is actually pretty based.
Yes,
it could be Hassan. I don't know. Is Hassan based? I don't know.
No, Hassan is
a maniac.
Hassan is one of the dumbest people on the internet.
Yes.
Well, there we go, Shaka Zulu. I think Hassan may not be as based as you think. So yes, there we go.
PewDiePie is based, and he's not Mr. Beast is the biggest YouTuber now, but he was the biggest YouTuber. Then he went and just moved to Japan with his wife, had a baby.
Yes,
like it's awesome. Right. It's an awesome story. This guy who used to do meme review and stuff is living a great life. Good for him, man.
Yeah,
there we go. I love that. Nick is with you. He says 40K is great. Recommend. There we go.
Space Marines.
I guess
someone
Marines likes it. Space Marines. Can you really beat Space Marines? No, not really. You just can't. I mean,
Marines rule. Not gonna work. Space Marines rule harder. That's it.
Correct. That is accurate. Ryan says, I love Larry's enthusiasm. Thank you. I appreciate that. That is amazing. I do appreciate that. Yes. The Scientific Libertarian says it could be more accurate. the kingdom of Cush ruled over Egypt, and they checked on the bones and found that it was a black kingdom, and it was accidentally labeled Egyptian. Oh, is that right? Yeah, but there were Nubians too that were. So there was Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt, and Upper Egypt had more people who were Nubian or Cushites, I guess, than Lower Egypt that had more people who were more Caucasoid in that area. So, but yes, my point being, you could have made a story, a very interesting one, about a black pharaoh. They existed. You could have made one.
You got to start with, they have to be able to write. They have to be able to have an imagination to be able to then go somewhere else.
Their response, that, when my good friend Az, went completely viral last year by calling out pronouns in Starfield, or when I called out, Doctor Who, because I think Doctor Who's a man, or with Cleopatra, the response is always, what does it matter? Well, if it doesn't matter, then why'd you change it? Of course it matters to you. Stop, it's this game of fighting optics and just disingenuous people all the time. It's just, and we're fighting for the truth, whatever it is. Just be authentic.
Absolutely.
And we're moving into a more authentic age, and that's where I have hope with the youth. I don't think they're all lost on TikTok. I think there's a lot of base kids out there.
I think some are starting to move because a lot of the young men are starting to realize that it's not working for them. Like this new world is not working for the young men. And they're like, you know what? I'm not going to be part of it. The sad part is a lot of them are checking out, which sucks. But I think in the long run, that's probably going to help because we need those young men to move our society forward. As they check out, we're going to beg them to come back.
Young men are put in a meat grinder in this country. Like of all makes, shapes, and sizes, they are put into a meat grinder and forgotten. A lot of it is fatherless. A lot of it is in institutions, which I have witnessed myself, and it's beyond a tragedy.
I see it with my daughter who's 20 trying to find young men to date.
Well, you can't because they've been so beat upon. But I think what we're going to see is there's going to be this very strong movement where they're going to go backwards in time. And that doesn't mean that we're going back to the 1800s. It means, maybe the 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, in terms of you have the traditional values become values again.
An analog generation.
Yeah.
A generation who unplugs. I'm hoping for that.
They're just going to say, I'm done with this.
As long as they watch this show on Monday nights, damn it. Everything else they don't have to watch.
If I suffer fine, if the world's better, I'm okay.
Yes. But just one of my shows no, I'm kidding. Anyway, guys, if you like what you're watching, please click the like button. I know I bug you like every half hour. Why? Because I need to. I have to get past the algos. I have to get past Al Gore rhythm. I have to get past that. So please do it. Please, it does matter. Also, if you're watching on Twitter, retweet us right now. Repost it. Repost it if you are. If you want to super chat me, you can. It supports the show. You can also become a member if you want to. $4.99. Click that link button. $4.99 per month. Helps out tremendously. But either way, follow these two gentlemen. If you would, follow Gary at Nerdrotics on Twitter. And follow Mike. Please follow him on Rumble at No Soundbites Allowed. So I do want to grab so many good comments. I want to grab a couple more of these if I can. This is right for you, Gary. He says, I have a question for Gary. Are you a fan of Hellraiser?
I liked the book and the first movie. I think it's a really dark and I think it's great horror. My favorite Clive Barker film is Nightbreed, though. I'm a Nightbreed fan.
Okay.
I like the whole world he built up. The first two Hellraisers are good. Like the first Hellraisers, all time.
Yes,
all time.
I love the Pinhead parts. Like, we have such sights to show you.
I know.
So good. So good.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Pinhead is he's the man.
Yes.
I loved that. But that's example of what we've been talking about. The innovation, that imagination that was then transformed into a medium for the rest of us to see. And Hellraiser wasn't the biggest movie that ever came out, but it's been consistent.
Cult classic. Yeah.
It's a cult, and that's why it works.
But it had massive cultural impact.
Yeah.
Like massive.
Yes.
Like everybody knew who Pinhead was. Like
everyone saw it. Correct. Everyone loved it, and it's made a difference in so many people's lives. And there's so many movies and TV shows we could point to that have done that. And we're not getting, you can't even remember a TV show that's shown up in the last 3 years. The moment it's done,
it's rare.
airing, it's gone. It's like
when we get something now.
There's one. Hold on. Yeah. Young Sheldon.
What?
The TV show people like.
Okay, I guess I it's not up my alley, so I don't watch sitcoms or dramas. I would say the one show that stood out for me in the last year was One Piece on Netflix. I thought that was
yes, okay. One Piece. That was huge. That was
we still get right. You know, and then Godzilla -1 is the best movie I've seen in years. Yeah. And it's because it's a lot more than Godzilla stomping around.
This too.
I love those.
You have to watch Godzilla -1. It is it's all in Japanese, but it's the best movie I've seen in years.
I love Godzilla.
I live in Japan for 4 years. I can probably read the subtitles. It's fine.
Good.
Yeah. I like the original Godzilla movies. We're talking Toho and love that. Can't stand anything they've done. If it's made by
one
Hollywood,
that's coming out this year is the one that's coming out later this month is going to be terrible. It's going to be utterly terrible.
I hate Hollywood.
But the Godzilla -1 is made by Japanese company. It is a Japanese film. It was made for under $15 million. It was the best movie I saw last year by a mile.
Here we go.
I only saw one movie last year, and that was John Wick 4. Because I love John Wick. I've watched the entire series, and
superhero movie now, but I like it.
Yeah, and I liked it. It's
but you know what I like? You brought up something that bothers me that I want to bring up. This makes me think about, right? When you watch a John Wick movie, it's what you expect, right?
Yeah.
Like you know what you're getting. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be Keanu doing cool, shooting people in the head. That's what it's gonna be. I'm gonna watch that, and I got it. What got me angry, what you talked about, Gary, the idea of the putting women in, is that they did a bait and switch so many times. It's Superman, but it's really Superwoman, right? Or it's the one that drove me crazy was Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan,
that was terrible.
But it was about Black Jedi chick, right?
Yeah.
And again, I'm not against the Black Jedi chick. Awesome. But have a Black Jedi chick movie then. Just give her a movie and make it a good movie.
Well, they made her a terrible character. They made her an absolutely
But she was terrible
horrible,
too. So
unwatchable
it was a
character.
Switch that sucked. Right?
All the bait and switch sucks because you would never watch it on its own. Partially because they don't know how to write an original character.
Yes.
Would I watch a Reba movie? I mean, the concept of her character, she survived the purge.
Yes.
She became part of the Empire, but it's been that secret to try and take down Vader. Fantastic. You can do something with that. I don't want to do that while I'm trying to watch Obi-Wan, a character I actually liked. And really, we didn't. And they have this desire. I don't know what it is. Why does everything have to have a prequel? Why do I need to know how this? Sometimes it's just great. My idea of what happened in even the Star Wars prequels, I'm not even. Some of it
Rogue One wasn't bad. Rogue One was a good prequel, wasn't it?
There was no. The only thing good about Rogue One was the last 2 minutes. Why?
What?
Vader. That's it. That's why everyone went to see that movie. Vader.
Well, that was cool, but come on, it wasn't a bad movie, was it?
It's probably the most respectable Disney Star Wars movie.
Yes,
that's true.
I'll give you that. It's probably the most respected, but it's just been garbage. So the corporations have been IP chasing because it's safe. It's safe.
True.
It's true. Like it's safe to do the like we got a Mad Max movie coming out. Mad Max ain't in it, but its title's Furiosa because we needed that. It's like no, I'd rather have a Mad Max movie, but okay, fine. Be another thing I can rip. But yeah, out of all the movies coming out this year, the tentpole movies, all but 4 are prequels or sequels to existing properties.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
my God.
That just tells you that entertainment is dying. No one has an idea.
And that's why the culture is moving on from like Hollywood. For one, Hollywood's not the biggest entertainment game in town anymore.
Right.
It's gaming. Gaming is number 1 by far. But as far as like scripted entertainment or where people going, they're moving away from television. They're moving away from the theater and they're moving to streaming. And YouTube was the number 1 streamer for the last calendar year. And we're entertaining ourselves now on YouTube. there's a plethora. There are people making music videos. There are people making short form TV or web series, films, and they're going to get better. They're going to get much better. Hollywood cannot compete against that because they're way more nimble. Like we, the independents, are way more nimble. And by the way, Hollywood basically legislated out AI, which is, it's probably good to try to slow it down, but it's not going to stop anybody in the independent sphere from using it. And out of that, that's where, and I think maybe everything goes niche and artisanal. I'm fine with that. I am spread it out, decentralize it. That's great. That's kind of the world that, music used to be localized a bit. There was always the big bands and stuff, but there would be a band that was popular in San Diego or Chicago or just New York, and they'd make a good living. And that's kind of, I think, where entertainment needs to go.
Well, it's funny you said that. Like, people have told me that when it comes to entertainment, that back in the day, it was, it was much harder to make a living as a band, right? But they say today it's much harder to become a superstar, but it's much easier to make a living. Like you can make a living as, right?
But then,
no different issue.
But we used to have people who went through and we used to have the best regional stars became the superstars. Why? They had the most talent of the people who were talented. And we don't have that anymore. You can't tell me who's the last one. Maybe it was Black Delirious. What's his name? He did the Delirious tour back in the 80s.
Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy.
He's pretty much the last, up until Dave Chappelle. You have this huge gap, and other than Dave Chappelle, there's no name in comedy that I can really think of that's truly a superstar. Like Chappelle is on the same stage level.
No, that's not true. I think Bill Burr does that.
He's not the same as what we saw with Eddie Murphy.
Stars like stand-up comedians, but they haven't crossed over. Right.
And my favorite, of course, Chrissy Mayer, who, of course, is the greatest comedian of all time. Of all time, of course.
Point.
Yes.
Fair point.
Also, most pregnant.
Yes. Also the most pregnant, correct. Yes. Both of those things are true. Yes, absolutely.
But I mean, what we're seeing is I think we're in a phase where we're getting more, people are abandoning the studio streaming, the Disney Plus, the Pluto, all of that kind of stuff, where you're programmed into their product. Ooh, hooray. Thank you for product. I'm getting ready for next great product, roughly quoting Red Letter Media there. And we're seeing people go into social media, into the YouTube, the Rumble, to really try and express themselves when they're not being suppressed, shadow banned. And separate of that, you see people, I haven't watched regular TV in about 15 years. I play video games, I watch anime, and I watch the news. I do political commentary. So, okay.
There you go.
And that's it. And when it comes to video games, I'm playing, which I think is a big thing. You're seeing a lot more people playing survival games. You're seeing them play city builders. They have huge genre because you can make a world that you can feel involved in, that you can feel in control of. Agreed. And it makes you feel like you're achieving something. And I think you're seeing that reflect in the rest of social media. I mean, does that make sense, guys?
Yeah. Well, if like you talked about watching old anime. So if you just combine people who watch old anime and play video games, and correct me if I'm wrong, chat, because I'm obviously a big gamer, but I think it was Fortnite or a version of Call of Duty recently. It's one of the two that had, 500,000 active players.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like 500,000 active players.
Wow.
Now the number of young people who supposedly are just on TikTok who are watching anime and playing video games combined dwarfs every single TV show in Western civilization being watched at the same time. Dwarfs that number. Absolutely. Like it's 1,000 to 1. And while video games are expensive to make, they've got their independent sphere too, which 100%. is coming up, which is really good. So this is how culture balances out. So what put us out of balance is the powers that be were in complete control of broadcast television, all of social media, Hollywood for so long And these are supposed to be companies that are in competition with each other, and they were lockstep, absolutely lockstep for the most part. Yes, there were exceptions, but not enough. Now they're being forced. Like they don't want to do this, but because they're competing against us, they're being forced to be a little more traditional in their storytelling, maybe not pissing off half the country, which I don't think you come back from, by the way.
It is very tough.
That's the biggest criticism of Hollywood. Hollywood's doing a lot of navel gazing right now. That's going to be my next vid. A lot of navel gazing, but the one thing they refuse to talk about is how political they got over the last 4 years and how much they pissed off half the country, which is your biggest problem. Screw the corporatism and all that. Those are problems too. But your biggest problem is your money. You cut your money in half because you piss them off. And you know how you get them back? Get on your fucking knees and treat them like the customer. For one, they're not consumers, they're customers. These are human beings who spend their hard-earned money on your stuff. Don't take them for granted. And you better start begging pretty damn soon, because customers are king. People are finding that out. Hollywood is so busy.
Let me talk to my customers if I could. Barry Smooth is being so nice. Barry Smooth, thank you for the super chat. $1.99.
$1.99.
Mike has bad knees. Says, I hope everyone is subscribed to Dan Vask.
Hang on. Let me answer that. I was going to say, no, Gary has to go first. It's 1 million for Gary. Dan is great with the music. I know about this. And I'm telling you, go to Nerdrotic, get him first. Then you can go, or matter of fact, do both at the same time. Dan can't win. Can't win.
There's a bet, Larry, between me and Dan Vass. Dan Vass is a young man with long flowing hair, questionable, sexual orientation, but a great singing voice. Great singing voice, and he challenged me to a bet last year, like first to 1 million. If I lose, I have to sing a Bon Jovi song. I freaking hate Bon Jovi. With the intensity of 10,000 Suns, and if I win, then he wears man buns. He has to sing a song that I write about man buns being gay. So that's the bet.
That's so good. I don't know who I want to win.
And it was so
I'm not sure.
It was so far off. I'm like, sure,
it was way off back then.
And now it's getting close. It's like, I just want to be over.
You're at 980. He's at like 960, I think. So you can do it, man.
All right. So there we go. You heard it.
I am a fan, folks. I do actually watch Nerdrotics completely separate.
Right, so
I watch Larry. I watch Gary.
He's just subscribed to Boss. You
subscribe to Dan. No.
He says, hail the fellowship. Larry, I met you at the OCLP, which is the Orange County Libertarian Party charter meeting a few years ago in Orange County. I haven't abandoned New York yet, but I want to. I know, me too, brother. Me too. But soon we'll see if we can hold on.
Thank you very much, Big Boned.
Which Orange County?
There we go.
Which Orange County?
I think that's Orange County, New York, which is right above New York City.
Gotcha.
Right above New York City.
Gotcha.
Yes, right above New York City. So yes, Craig says Nerdrotics is right about major corporations not caring for people, put them on the pedestal. Politicians too, people and friendships, and leave families to defend those who couldn't care less about them.
Boom.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
Wow. That is very true. I can't. Yeah. Robert says Marvel died when it entered the Pandaverse.
Oh yeah. Hard.
Fact.
Absolutely.
There's so many great characters, and the characters, there's so much they could do. Even like Echo. You had a great she's okay. Yeah. She's basically Taskmaster in a female form. So you've already done the gender swap by having Echo as is. She's the female Taskmaster. And that would have been.
For those of you know who Taskmaster is, he is a character. So you got to remember his audience isn't your audience, Mike. Okay, Taskmaster was a villain who could copy any task. Once he saw you do it, he could do it as well as you, if not better. He could do anything.
The Avengers, and Echo was fine in the comic books. If you cast a hot woman, a fit hot woman who can act, no one and gave her a good story, no one would have a problem with it, and maybe adapt the Daredevil comics instead. They completely changed her powers. She doesn't look anything like she does in the comic. They hooked you in with Daredevil in one scene, and they completely
bait and switch. Damn it!
Yes, they bait and switched you again. So it should have just done a Kingpin series. Screw Echo. Do a Kingpin series.
Seriously.
Brutal New York crime lord. I know people don't like that stuff. People didn't like The Sopranos. They don't like
people hated Sopranos.
They don't like this stuff.
Was terrible. Yeah, no one watched that stuff.
No one watched
They hated The Godfather. That movie went nowhere. I completely agree. That movie went nowhere. Terrible. Yeah. Nick says niche is completely fine. Just don't expect the niche to be a massive success.
Yep. Right.
Or don't turn well-established franchises into a niche thing.
Don't spend $300 million on a niche subject that isn't going to get you back.
If it's niche, then you make it for that niche audience, and then if it's good enough, well, it'll that niche audience will put out that old word of mouth that still seems to work pretty well as marketing, and then put $70 million into your project. I love how we talk about that like that's nothing. Just $70 million.
70 million. Got that in my front pocket in case I got to cross a bridge for a toll. Got that in my pocket just in case.
John Wick movie. I think the first John Wick was done for like 50 million.
40 million. Joker was done for 50 million. First Deadpool, I think, was 70 million.
Yep.
These are normal prices for I think reasonable prices for a Hollywood production. Yes. And it gives you a chance to make money, and they're going to dial things way back now though. Yeah, so we're going to start getting action, and we're going to start going to get more action. I'm fine with that, by the way. Just make more action.
I think the scientific libertarian is teasing us. He says, nothing says I don't like pandering to people who don't like pandering. No, that's actually pretty funny, bro. That was a good one. That's good. I like that. He did get us on that one. That's good.
But they can't go to action and propaganda. They have to go to,
what do you mean?
And the three movies you just mentioned, all great. Why? No pandering. No propaganda as the story. They had a story, and then it just did well.
You have Dune out there, which I liked. It's a decent. The book fans are not super happy, but it seems like the public is very happy. It's a visit, and there's a couple things in it, but it doesn't take away from the story, and it's just a normal adaptation. It's a normal story, and people are now. There's a lot of hyperbole too. Like, this is the greatest thing ever. It's like, you've been starving in the desert,
Right. You
got a really good cold glass of water. It's still a cold glass of water. It's not reinventing the wheel,
Absolutely. It's funny. We have 2 Godzilla comments though.
Yeah.
This is Roger Meadows, by the way. Roger says they made Godzilla fat.
Roger, okay. If you were laying at the bottom of the ocean and then you just got gorged on atomic energy, you probably put on a couple pounds too, okay? Especially when you were just laying around, not running around a lot, not doing a lot of exercise. Godzilla was on lockdown. Who knows for how long?
That's true. Good point.
COVID wave.
Joshua says, have y'all seen Shin Godzilla? For those who don't know, Shin means dead in Japanese.
Shin Godzilla is good. I like it. But Godzilla -1 is like S tier great. Shin Godzilla is really good though. Go watch it. That's good stuff.
There we go. So yes,
I prefer my Godzilla from Japan. So
yes, I do think when I look back at some of the stuff that's coming out of Japan, foreign in general, like Japanese and Germans, whenever they do war or aggressive movies like that, they do it better because they lost the war. So they don't make glory war movies, right?
No,
war wasn't good for them.
Godzilla -1 is right after Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It is the aftermath of World War II. They just lost, and it's about a society putting there's a monster coming, but the real story is it's about a society rebuilding itself on its own, not relying on the government. The Americans aren't going to come in. Nobody's going to come in and help them. And by the way, they got to fight off a giant monster. It's a fantastic movie.
Das Boot. I kind of missed part of what you guys were talking about, but Das Boot, story about just a bunch of guys. It wasn't about necessarily the Nazis. It was just a bunch of guys in an extraordinary situation.
Yep, there we go. Joe says, agree. It was Riva, right? Riva backstory was cool. The character was horrible. I agree that the concept was good, Mike. You're right. That could have been a great movie, but it sure as hell wasn't. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rebecca says, I was so excited for Obi-Wan series because I grew up with the prequels. What a letdown.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
It should have been about Obi-Wan and Luke and not Obi-Wan chasing around Princess Leia with this other, Jedi hunter, the Inquisitor, coming around who miraculously survives getting, gut stabbed by lightsabers twice.
Right.
By Vader.
Then at the end, when they could have redeemed her entire character, when she found out where Luke was, Obi-Wan should have killed her right there and then said, "I'm sorry, but you got to die." And that would have kind of made it better. But then he lets her go.
It makes no sense.
It would explain why Obi-Wan doesn't really see himself as a Jedi anymore, because he does something very un-Jedi.
Right.
And he's protecting Luke by any means necessary.
But so many plot holes that they created by doing the Obi-Wan series. I mean, Leia, she doesn't know Obi-Wan. I mean, the message doesn't, R2's message doesn't make sense anymore. But
nothing, Matt. Yeah.
That's
so I have a couple more comments on the comedians. Straight Chillaxin says Biden's a very good comedian if you like dark humor and sniffing children's hair. So I guess kind of. So yes.
Well, yeah. If you look past the effects of what's the damage he's done to our society, his administration has been a fucking joke. You're right. It's been,
there we go. See, so there was something there. Yeah. So Janice brings up about Bill Maher. That's kind of true. Isn't Bill Maher kind of there?
No,
I hate Bill Maher.
Not at all.
Well, there we go, Janice. The answer.
I think Bill Maher will say stuff that makes sense once in a while, but I think Bill Maher is so out of touch. When Roseanne Barr was interviewing on his Stoner podcast, whatever he was on, and he didn't know who the WEF is. By the way,
of course he knows.
I don't mean to offend any stoners. I think weed should be legal. I just think you're crazy if you smoke it. It should be legal, just don't smoke it. Makes you crazy. I'm a sober guy, so but no, Roseanne Barr is like
makes you lazy.
It totally
among other things.
Yeah.
They're trying to push heart trouble now, and I'm like, you smoke anything, it's gonna give you heart trouble.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't know if gummies
I'm sober too. I mean, the only drug I use is caffeine. That's it. Nothing else. Otherwise,
but yeah, when Roseanne Barr is educating you on the WEF and you're on a political show, that's a problem.
That's a
big problem.
But he said it himself that the colleges he went to indoctrinated him. And he's part of that culture, that echo chamber that they're all in, that think that their farts don't smell and that he's the smartest guy in the room on every subject. But you've never seen him out amongst the public. You don't see him actually having a conversation with real people ever. Because
someone brought that up with him before. Someone actually said, someone was talking to him about, I think it was Marianne Williamson. I think he said her on the show. Yeah. And Marianne Williamson said, don't you see the people in your city who are, starving and such? He goes, I see lots of people living their best life. She said, but what about on Skid Row? She goes, I don't go to Skid Row. It's like, that's the problem. If you would go to Skid Row, you'd see some people who are suffering. If you go to places that regular people are, you would see some people struggling to get around.
Do you think Bill Maher goes to Target? Do you think Bill Maher goes to Walmart? Do you think he goes down to the local grocery store? No.
I will never forget that Bill Maher, May of 2020, said he didn't care about the alleged sexual abuse of Joe Biden against the woman because you have to vote for him anyway. He's also the guy in 2019 that said he was hoping for a recession so that it would hurt Republicans and make people vote for a Democrat. I remember
what's funny?
These things.
Be careful what you wish for, because that's what he got under Biden. He got exactly that.
Yep, exactly. I hate 100%. These guys. And I was going to ask a question.
Okay.
About, oh God, now my brain went dead.
No worries. Scott's got one for us anyway. He says, when can we expect an Nerdrotic movie studio? Now you done messed up, Gary. Now you talked your trash. Now you got to give us a movie with AI. We got to get you an AI and you got to make us a movie. And then when it sucks, we're so going to
Drinker's making a movie.
If Drinker's doing it, you can do it.
Drinker's making a movie.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm writing a book. That's the most you get out of me.
Nice.
Because I like my free time and YouTubing, so I don't want to do too much outside.
By the way,
very hard to do stuff.
What you were talking about for $500,000 was Fortnite.
Fortnite. Thank you, chat.
Yes.
Thank you, chat. Yeah, Fortnite's the same.
Yes. Yeah, that's what it was. So I thought they would enjoy that. So,
I remember my question.
Go ahead now,
real quick. So let me ask you: Are you afraid? Where do you think entertainment goes? Art entertainment goes if the government continues down the path they're doing right now, where the government is going to start actively censoring social media, the internet. I'm terrified of it. People like Senator Blumenthal have come out and they've been very clear. They want to inject the government and create to protect people. I love this. Always be afraid if they say they're going to protect you or if they're going to do something. God help you if they say those things. And they're going to do something about the internet by introducing government, which I think we're suddenly talking about becoming China. That's where I think that leads. If the government U.S. starts trying to censor to protect us, we become China. And I think entertainment dies. What do you think?
Yes, I think entertainment dies and our society dies. So we should always have that healthy fear that the government wants to censor us, be authoritative, wants to take away our rights, always wants to make new rules. I think that should just be how you wake up in the morning. That should be our baseline, as they say it. And but having that healthy fear will keep us fighting it. And the only way we fight it, you guys know this, you're political. Presidents aren't going to change this locally. Locally, your local elections have to become the most important thing in your life. You know what? I say that like having completely ignored them most of my life. Until my wife got shut down. Her business got shut down forever during COVID, and never again am I going to ignore who's lording over me locally.
There we go.
We have some good people here where I am, and some freaking knuckleheads, and we need to take them out.
I got a super chat here. Gary, he lets me know. Big B Buster says Gary's at 990, Dan's at 967. So it looks like you're winning, Gary.
Dude, I told you, he's so close, people. You can do it. Go and click on him, then Dan Vass, then Larry, then me. Please.
There we go. In that order.
I don't mind in that order. I'm happy at 10 to 50,000 people. I'd be happy as hell. Please, go in that order.
It ain't over till it's over. I'm not going to.
I've only been doing this 18 years. You don't know how they suppress that.
Oh, I know.
I talk about.
Oh, they do. They do. Politics, they most certainly do.
Public does. Social media, the giants, they don't. They just hit me.
Joe says, I'm looking forward to the new Killer Clowns from Outer Space game coming out.
Nice, proper Valkyrie there in your avatar, by the way.
Oh, there we go. I'm sorry.
That's Valkyrie. Now, if you watch the movies, you would go,
the original.
Isn't she black? And it would say
no,
but
that's
they are
now
now
Defenders. That's like the original Defenders,
OG Defenders. Yes,
here we go. I remember Godzilla. I gotta tell you how unhappy I am. This will make some of you cry. When I went to the Marine Corps, my mom threw out all my old comics, thinking that they weren't valuable. I had gazillions of dollars worth of comics now. I literally had an Avengers #1 that I bought at a Creation comic book convention at the World Trade Center in like 1980 or whenever I bought it. It was from 62, but I bought it in like 1980 or something like that.
Yeah, where it was probably like $20 or something like that.
It was like $40. Yes, it was like $40. Yeah. Yes. And I had, some of you might remember this, back in the 1970s, right after the Superman movie, they made the first ever DC Marvel comic that was together. It was a big supersized comic, and it was Superman and Spider-Man.
Yes.
Superman and Spider-Man. I had that in mint. I also had something else special. For you don't know, there was a Godzilla comic book.
Yes.
Godzilla comic book, 2-year series, only 2 series, and he fought every single group. He fought the Avengers, Defenders, he fought them all and beat them all. He was the only person, the only monster to beat all of them. And he beat all of them together. I had all of it. He fought the Micronauts. They had a Micronaut comic book. Yes. And I had that all in the garbage. And when I think about that now, that was 30 years ago, I still want to cry.
No. Yeah. When I went to in 91, when I went to Moscow, I lived there for about a year and a half. I had 4,000, somewhere between 4,000 and 7,000 comics. And I was actually keeping them. I was just a fan. I had like all the New Mutants. I had a ton of Spider-Man and a bunch of the original X-Men. And I had a lot. I mean, 4,000 to 7,000 for me was a lot at the time. So I go to Moscow. I lived through a coup attempt. I go to Soviet Georgia. I lived through another attempted coup. The Civil War starts over there. I come back home, and my brother gave away everything.
Yes.
That's worse than being thrown out.
Yes.
The only good thing about that is I know there was a bunch of guys who at least read it once and enjoyed a bunch of classic Marvel, but oh man, that hurt.
Yes.
That hurt a lot.
There we go. There we go.
That's hardcore. I mean, because like a mom, it's like your mom, but your brother.
Yeah.
Yes. He should have known better.
Your
brother should have known better. He should have known better.
Yes. He wasn't a comic fan. And that wasn't his thing. And he was into baseball cards and.
Hey, comic stores love that story because mom.
Before I go back to some more chats, I want to know, please, Michael, tell us what you are doing. What's going on? What can we see you doing this weekend? What are you doing?
Well, I do political commentary every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. I do a live stream where I interact. I take phone calls. I take chat questions, just talking about all the politics. The thing that's a little different about what I do is I actually go backwards, like when I'm talking about Bill Maher from 2019. I remember everything in politics going back about 4 decades, and I can tell you how that affects what we're doing today and going forward, which is why my Sunday show can be anywhere from, at a minimum, 2.5 hours. It can go as long as 6 hours, depending on people's calls and questions about all the politics, international.
And is that on the YouTube page? Is that on Rumble? Where is that?
I'm on Rumble, YouTube, basically all social media under No Soundbites. That's with an I, Allowed. Awesome. And help me because I just did a 13-second joke video today, which should be a short on YouTube. They refused it. They won't let it go into the shorts queue because I'm laughing about the Supreme Court decision. The mine, the seagulls, mine. Okay. I readapted that, made a bunch of changes, changed my own audio, put in some other artwork, and but I'm using that as the basis.
And they didn't like it.
Seconds. They won't let that go into the rotation for shorts.
That makes no sense.
Look at that.
I get away with that shit all the time.
There we go. Gary, tell us what you're doing.
What am I doing? I am writing up a video that's going to come out in the next couple of days. So we're going to be talking about the shape Hollywood's in right now, and we're going to talk about their navel gazing once again. Then Friday Night Tights. I have no idea who the guest is. Sorry, but yeah, Friday Night Tights.
Here we go
with Chrissy Mayer, the person who introduced us, who was attacked at one of her shows. Somebody threw a smoke bomb. With like pepper spray.
She was pepper sprayed.
Yeah, pregnant woman, 8 months pregnant. Total just animal. But yeah, she's doing good, and we love her. But yeah, that's what I got.
There we go.
Thanks for having me on,
guys. If you like this, please make sure you hit that like button. It does matter. I bug you. Like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe. Rebecca says, "Get Larry on Friday Night Tights." Well, there we go. I'm the next guest. See that? Just done. Absolutely. Mike Has Bad Knees says, "Glad to have found your channel, Voss." So you have a fan, brother.
Oh, cool.
You got a fan.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, man.
Roger says, "Still got 3 X-Men, 1 Jim Lee plus X-Men 12/13 first appearance of the Juggernaut."
Yeah, I love
and a
Juggernaut.
giant X-Men 1. Look at that. I love that.
Good piece. Stuff.
Definitely.
I really do love that. That is amazing.
They didn't know how to do Juggernaut. They didn't know how to do Juggernaut. They haven't got him right yet.
Yeah, like Deadpool 2 was close. Like that was the most acceptable one. But yeah, before that's
the original one, he was terrible.
There was a cosplay going around on Twitter yesterday that was amazing. Absolutely.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, if you could find it, look for the Juggernaut. Just search Juggernaut cosplay. It's freaking great.
Was it with the helmet?
Yes. It's straight up comic book Juggernaut. The guy's basically in a suit, and it's just his face is coming out the helmet, but his arms are the right proportion, proper costume.
Right. You give me so much damn homework. All right. Guys, please follow these gentlemen if you would. Follow Gary at Nerdrotics on Twitter. Follow Mike on Rumble at No Soundbites Allowed. Everyone, thank you so much for watching. Do me a favor. Once this is over, go back on YouTube and leave a comment. Once we're done, go back on YouTube afterwards, leave a comment, go back on Facebook if you're watching, leave a comment afterwards. The Al Gore rhythms like that very much. Have a great night, everybody. I will be seeing you all tomorrow, 1 p.m. I'll be live 1 p.m. WYSL, Rochester, New York. See you all